Hello and welcome to the Soul Shaking Love podcast. I am Valerie Green, your host from CoachValerieGreen.com. And today I am excited to be interviewing marriage and family therapist and health coach, Avis Friedman. Hi, Avi.
Hi.
And we are going to talk about emotional eating and how to overcome it. And this is such an important topic for a lot of my clients because as and I'm sure Avi teaches about processing your feelings and really being in touch with your feelings, there's so many ways that we avoid doing that. And one of them for a lot of people is in using food as comfort when you're feeling a strong feeling. And I just want to let everyone know that that's totally normal and common. And we really want to cover in this episode how to overcome that pattern and really, get to an emotionally balanced place in a healthy way. So I'm excited to dive into that topic.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely is super normal.
Yeah. Like that's the first thing that I'm sure both of us want to let you know is that, there's nothing wrong with you. Like we're not coming from that place.
Right. Yeah, definitely. It's one thing that it's the most natural for people to jump into something that's a quick fix of their emotions, and food's definitely most readily available for most people. So it definitely is a
exactly.
And something that really will definitely soothe emotions, at least for a temporary time. So it's definitely a great go-to for a lot of people, and that's why we're here to try to learn some interventions and strategies for avoiding that.
Wonderful. I think that's well said. So I'll tell you a little bit more about Avi, and then we'll just dive into this topic. So as a marriage and family therapist, Avi is in Boca Raton with his wife and two daughters. I met Avi in a training for emotionally focused therapy. And, so it's all about how to be with your emotions. He went through his own health crisis. He was at 270 pounds and realized that he wouldn't be able to walk around with his kids, and walk them down the aisle if something didn't change, which is, I think, a really great moment that I look forward to asking you more about, Avi. Like a telling moment, not a great moment. But so as a therapist, right, it makes sense that he needs to heal himself before he was really going to be an example for his clients and his children. He decided to become a coach after researching dozens of programs, really settled on a coach training program. And now he's empowered both patients and his community to make significant changes in his life with accountability and focus and daily changes to one healthy habit at a time. Not only has he lost 60 pounds, and I think you look great now, Avi.
Thank you.
And I met you when you were heavier. And so I was really inspired by your journey. And that's one of the reasons why I decided, I wanted to interview you, that you can be an inspiration for others. And now he really has found that assisting others in their own journey towards finding a healthy weight in their balancing their personal health is really inspiring. And he's a very engaging, caring coach and therapist. So that's a little bit about Avi.
Yeah.
And so I'm just excited to talk to you more about this topic. And the first thing I'm sure everyone's curious about hearing is tell us a little bit more about your journey with emotional eating.
Sure. So my journey really starts from back when I was in elementary school. I was a huge kid. I was always one of the biggest kids in my class. And even when I was in elementary school, I went to Weight Watcher meetings. My parents tried bribing me to lose weight. I tried Slim Fast. And I finally reached a point when I was in 12th grade where I went to the doctor. I only went to the doctor because I needed a camp physical form, because otherwise I hated the doctor. And I went to the doctor and I weighed 270 pounds. And because I have genetic high cholesterol, the doctor pretty much told me, if you don't lose weight soon, in the next 3 years, you can have a heart attack.
Wow.
18-year-old, that was a really eye-opening moment. And I said, okay, so what do you recommend? I need help. I'm desperate. He's like, well, just eat better and exercise more. And I'm thinking to
Right.
myself, like, thanks so much. That's not really much of a help.
Right.
And even after that, I tried a Biggest Loser contest, and I just yo-yoed back and forth. And finally, I looked into a lot of different programs, and I found a system where it really focused on the lifestyle changes and focused on having accountability partners and eating small meals every 2 to 3 hours, and focusing on not just exercise but also just getting movement into your day. And thankfully, I lost over 60 pounds in a few short months, and
Amazing.
that was about 6 years ago. And thankfully, I've been able to still keep at a healthy weight 6 years later, which is a huge blessing. And my cholesterol
Yeah.
is better. And so this topic is definitely one that's near and dear to my heart, because there's no way to get to 270 pounds unless you have a medical condition without
Right.
loving to eat. So this is definitely
Right.
something where I unfortunately, have a lot of experience in, and one area where I am very passionate about spreading that for other people, because I love helping people deal with the challenges that I've dealt with myself.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. And when you shared your story, that's what made me say, wow, you really have to get out there and help more people. And so let's talk about what is emotional eating and what distinguishes it from healthy eating. Like, how do you
Right.
know you're doing emotional eating?
Okay, so the way I've, after doing research and looking at a lot of different books and topics, the way I've really narrowed it down is that when you find yourself eating, and it's not because of hunger and it's not because of a social gathering or outing, and it's really purely because there's something psychological that's helping you, that's wanting you to eat. And there could be a lot of different causes for it. There's definitely positive emotions and negative emotions that cause emotional eating, and they're both very important to keep in mind when you're eating something, to try to tap into what emotion is driving you to eat, and that's how you address the issue, by looking at the root of the problem.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I imagine that it might be hard to tell the difference if hunger is a sensation in the body and emotions are a sensation in the body. Like, how can you tell whether it's hunger or whether, you want to celebrate feeling good by eating something, or whether you want to, make yourself feel better when you're feeling bad? Like, how do you learn
Right.
to tell the difference?
Right. So a lot of it is a lot of through trial and error. There are times when you think you're hungry and you give it 5 minutes and see if that hunger subsides. And that's definitely a good way to tell if it was really just a craving because of emotional, or it was an actual hunger. Also, drinking water sometimes will try to assist you with being able to tell if, like, am I hungry? Just need something in my mouth. And sometimes
Right.
chewing gum, and a lot of different strategies that you can use to be more in tune with your body. And the more you practice in trying to pay attention to what's actually going on, and is it actually hunger, or is it just having an emotional craving for something, the more experience you get with being in tune with that, that will be able to assist you with long-term uh, being awareness.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I love the trial and error approach. Like, when I was a health coach, I used to have people keep a diary of, what they're eating and how they felt afterwards.
Right.
Because I think that's also like how um, whether it's emotional eating or not is like not just how did you feel before, but how did you feel after?
Right.
Because when it's like something that you're trying to control an emotion and you're not really hungry, like you might feel an immediate like rush from the sugar or the carbs or whatever, but then a couple hours later you'll feel worse.
Right. And also paying attention to what's going on in terms of your environment. Is there a trigger of some sort of event? Is there some sort of location that you're in that you find yourself hungry and frequently? Is it certain people that you're around that cause you to be hungry? So it's really just trying to um, look around and just build that awareness of the situation. Yeah, definitely journaling is a huge aspect of it as well. Just trying to focus on what you had, when you had it, why you, if you can access that emotion, why you had it, and definitely how you felt afterwards will play into addressing the concern for later.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And like, I know that are certain kinds of emotions more likely to cause people to use food as a medication for those emotions?
Yeah, so definitely there are multiple emotions that go on. There's some positive, some negative. The positive ones are really more if you're excited, you're celebrating. Just trying to. A lot of times, people will go out to eat. You know, that's how you celebrate. You celebrate your birthday, you go out to eat and have cake. You celebrate your anniversary, you go out to eat with your spouse. That's how we use food in general as a positive reason. And if you're proud of yourself for, like some people will say, "Oh, I'm proud of myself. I had a great workout at the gym. Let me go out and eat."
Right, right, right.
To counter
You've
the
earned it.
in that. And then the negative ones, which is something that I find is more frequent with people, definitely with me, it's more of trying to deal with the negative emotions and being more aware of that. Is I saw an acronym a few times called HALT, HALT. So it's if you're hungry, sometimes even if you're hungry, you'll end up emotionally eating. If you're angry and then you're upset, that's another time. L is for lonely, when you're bored and you're just by yourself, and T is for tired, when you're just exhausted. And
Mhm.
those are individually very challenging times when you're pressed
Yeah.
trying to curb your emotional eating. But when you're bored and you're tired,
Yeah.
it's much more difficult to keep yourself away from that.
Yeah, or when you're bored and you're lonely and you're tired and you're anxious, I can
Absolutely.
imagine they all compile on top of each other.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, and so like if somebody finds themselves in that situation, because I'm sure that happens to a lot of us where all these emotions are compiling on top of each other, and let's say we have a moment of consciousness and we recognize I'm not really hungry, but I know that if I ate a cookie, then I would feel better. Like, what do you recommend someone does in that moment?
Right. Okay. So there's really two times that you can address it. There's times beforehand, and you're trying to imagine what the scenario is going to be, and then there's also in the moment. So I would say for in the moment, because you brought that up first, I'd say if you're in the moment, well, I would say you do a three-step process. You would try to first stop yourself and just try to think, okay, what's going on? Why am I eating? Is this something that I'm actually hungry, or is this something just because if it's an emotion?
Mhm.
Just stop and just be aware, which is actually a big component in terms of CBT. Just your thoughts, your automatic thoughts, like, wait a minute, what's going on? How is this going to how is this playing out, and what is it doing for me? Then I would say the next step is to question yourself and to challenge yourself. Is this something that's really going to help me in the future? Is this something where I'm going to be happy about it in an hour from now? Am I going to be happy about it in a day from now? When I see the scale tomorrow, will this be something I'm happy about? Will I feel like I'm in control? Will I feel like I just gave in and I can't, and have that negative talk in your head saying I can't just control myself, and just feeling out of control? That's definitely something where you can challenge yourself at the moment and say, I'm gonna feel bad. Not only will I feel bad physically, possibly after I eat this, but also I'll feel bad emotionally. I'll feel bad afterwards that I couldn't control my craving. And then the last part is you're stopping yourself, you're questioning yourself, and then you're trying to choose health and trying to say, okay, I'm a healthy person. I'm on my goal. I'm on my path to health. So I'm going to choose to do the right thing, and I'm going to choose to either divert my activities to something else, to avoid the situation, to leave the room, whatever it entails. I mean, we can go through it after, different strategies for each part, but
Mhm.
of the actual in the moment, you would choose to either put the food down, choose to leave the room, choose to find another activity that you could do as a replacement.
Right, exactly. I think that last part is probably really key to look at, like, what are you looking to experience by eating the cookie, we'll say, or whatever it is that you are stopping yourself from eating, and like how else could you get that experience besides through food?
Right, right. And then when you're looking at it from trying in terms of preparation, you're trying to think, okay, so I know there's a specific situation, there's a certain place where I have the most challenge, and just seems like night after night, I eat the same bag of chips, and I'm just watching TV. All of a sudden, I'm eating a full bag of potato chips. I don't even pay attention, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm off the couch, I'm in the pantry, rummaging through, seeing what that is. And this is definitely something where I've struggled with in the past, and I've made a lot of significant progress in this. And it's definitely something where people think that, oh, men don't really emotionally eat, which there definitely are a significant amount of men that do emotionally eat. And then also, especially by women, they have a prevalency to also emotionally eat. So when you're presented with a specific situation, and you know that you have specific triggers in a different, whether it's a time of day, whether it's a location, whether it's a mood state when you're coming home from work, and there's definitely something to analyze. And I learned a lot about this in, I have behavior modification classes and my trainings, in terms of looking at the habit loop. And Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit, has an incredible book about that. And what it boils down to is that there's really four parts of the habit loop. There's the cue, and also the trigger. So the cue really is where the what's causing the specific behavior to be done, to be behaved on. Then there's also the situational aspect, the place where you're in, the location, the environment. Then there's the behavior itself, and then there's also the reward. And the
Mhm.
reward could be something positive or something negative. Something, it's just the result of what actually happened. And trying to address each situation, like let's say, for example, you take the couch of the potato chips, right? You have the cue. The cue is that you're sitting on the couch, the TV is on, and you're trying to, you're in the middle of watching some sports program or some TV show, whatever it is. Then you have the craving, where like, oh, I need something to munch on, I need something to put in my mouth. That would be the craving, that situation. The behavior would be to go to the pantry and bring the food and eat it on the couch. And the reward in that situation would be the feeling of, at least a temporary feeling of relief or enjoyment of the fact that, oh, great, I'm glad I got something that tastes really good in my mouth while I'm watching. That would be the habit loop for that situation. And within each step of the habit loop, there are ways and strategies to circumvent or minimize the temptation to be able to set yourself up for health and for good progress in your health journey.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, would it be easy to use that example and like guide us through the steps of what interventions you could do for each of those four steps in order to?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. So in terms of dealing with the cues or the triggers, so I've heard an acronym, well, really a way of the four A's. There's avoiding, there's altering, there's there's adapting and accepting. So avoiding is avoiding the situation, and depends. Obviously, it's not always possible to avoid the situation. Depending on, let's say, for example, you go to a party and that's where you're triggered to overeat. You
Right.
avoid the party if there's a social obligation, but there's ways to avoid. Let's say if you're on the couch, you can avoid watching TV if you, for that specific time of day when you know that you have triggers um, for that negative behavior, the emotional eating. And that's something where you could take into account whether you avoid sitting on a specific part of the couch. Maybe if you would watch in your bedroom, or if you would watch a different room in the house, maybe you wouldn't be as triggered, you wouldn't be as close and accessible to the kitchen. That might be a situation where you could try avoiding the cue or the trigger. Additionally, you can alter the cue by changing your mentality, changing your mindset, and by telling yourself that I'm a healthy person. I know I can do better than that. I know that I don't need to eat when I'm not hungry, and I'm going to um, I'm going to be firm and be strong about staying with my positive will when I'm and I'm tempted by a situation. And also with us being more assertive with your family. If let's say there's a social event, and I know that I'm triggered by going to a specific person's house and going to my cousin's house, and they have that specific dessert, by being assertive and telling them that, hey, I'm working on my health, I'm working on my weight loss journey or whatever it is, and I know that that dessert is something that's very tempting for me. So is it possible to either make sure not to serve me a piece, or just be my accountability partner to be able to, I'm letting you know that I'm trying my best not to have it, and try to be a lookout for me. And that's in
Yeah,
terms, right? That's in
that
terms,
makes sense. I mean, and especially I think like a lot of people don't do that because they're scared that their family's going to make fun of them, or that they're going to feel rejected, you know, if you don't accept the food. And so
right? Or
I think
they're
it's important
insulted,
to
right?
like,
They're insulted
yeah,
that you're not eating their food.
right, right. So I think it's important to address that, right? Like, how would you guide people to address that?
Right. So again, like it, what I find, and you hear it on the airplanes all the time, you really have to adjust your oxygen mask before you can help other people. And
Yep.
it's about self-care, and self-care is huge. It's really, unfortunately, it's one of those scenarios where people just neglect themselves in terms of, oh, I'm too busy. I'm a big helper. I have a family that I'm trying to coordinate their schedules. I'm trying to be that mom that's all over and getting to every appointment. And I don't have time to exercise because I'm so busy with cleaning the house. But sometimes we forget to realize and reflect upon the self that when we're tired, and where it's one of those situations where we don't take care of ourselves, then we're really just doing a disservice not just to us, but to the entire family. And I heard
Yeah.
a fascinating uh, parable to that. It's like analogy, if you have like a glass of water, right? You have a glass of water and you fill it up. So that would be your self care. You're filling up your glass. Then if you fill yourself up enough, then it overflows and helps other people. But if you take what you have inside and you're just pouring it for other people, you're pouring, pouring, pouring. You get to a certain point, the glass is going to crash, and you're gonna crash as well. So like
Yeah.
it's really important to realize that we can only help other people if we're operating at our optimal best. That's really the best way we can help people. And sometimes by telling people, and yes, people will get insulted, uh, but they'll get over it. And if it's someone that doesn't get over it, um, then just accept the fact that I'm sorry, that I just need to work on myself, and I need to take care of my body and be my optimal best. And that's something that, whether someone's trying to get in my way, um, that's not fair to me, and I have to stand up for myself and be more assertive with what I need to accomplish.
I love that because I think like people might feel rejected, or they might make fun of you in the short term, but in the long term, they'll understand. It's just an adjustment for them.
Right. It's like they see you eating healthy, like, oh my gosh, like, why are you doing that? What are you trying to do? And then the next thing you know, they see when you have accomplished a significant health goal, like, oh, how'd you do it? What was your secret?
Right, exactly.
It's
I think
like,
that's the nature of change in any family system. You know,
absolutely.
you start doing something different and you're kind of ostracized, but then you succeed and people all want to follow you.
Right. And if in general, that's just when people are successful and they're doing daily habits that really bring them towards their goals, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's a professional goal, whether it's a health goal. People a lot of times will mock you or try to belittle you for putting in so much effort, but in the reality, that's really the way to accomplish things, is by small steps, consistent daily habits, and just trying to work on each habit as it comes along.
Yeah, I love that. And so that's, I think, the what you mentioned, 3 A's.
Right. So then there's right. So that was two of them. That was alter and avoid. Right. And then there's also I would say there's adapting, and you're adapting your cues by changing your expectations, your attitude, and trying to think, um, will this will this help me in a month? Will this mistake, if I make a mistake here, will it impact me in a month? Will this matter in a year? Um, and also adjusting your expectations. My expectations is that if I have expectation where I'm going to be perfect, and if I'm not perfect with whatever plan I give for myself, um, whatever eating schedule or sleeping schedule or whatever it is, if I have an expectation, such a high expectation, and if I veer off it a little bit, I'll kick myself for it. Then that's something that you have to learn to adapt as well. Like when you look at a weight loss journey, you see all these pictures in the magazines. They say, "Oh, I lost 40 pounds. I lost 100 pounds." And when you ask them, "How did it go? Was it just a straight line down? Was it straight like, oh, you lost 5 pounds the first week, and then every single week for the next 2 months you lost another 3-4 pounds a week?" And the reality is that's not the case. Like there's no person, like even when you go on the scale between one day and the next and you were great on your eating schedule, your weight fluctuates. It's just a natural part of the body that if you have an expectation that every single day, if I'm good for 3 hours, it's going to reflect on the scale.
Right.
So that's something to address on in your expectations. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, our bodies are always fluctuating. And I think it's more important to take a look at how we look and how we feel.
right. And I think that, and the last A is that accepting the fact in terms of the cues, accepting the fact that sometimes it's unavoidable. Like the challenging situation, there's not much I can do. Like I can't go through my house and just not go through the kitchen if that's my triggering
Right.
location. It's just not reality. And there are going to be some times that I'm going to want to watch TV. So if I say I'm going to always avoid the couch and I'm never going to watch TV on the couch, um, without accepting the fact that no, this will happen, this situation will happen, and I'm going to learn to replace that negative behavior with a positive behavior. That's something where we have to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Like really um, changing how the attitude we have towards it, like accepting, all right, I'm going to have to walk through the kitchen, but who do I have to be when I walk through the kitchen in order to, be a healthy person? Like, I love how you're talking about changing your identity, right? Because if you're saying, I'm a healthy person as my identity, like, then that person wouldn't like just open the fridge and rummage through it like unconsciously.
Exactly. And it's something where self-talk really comes into play. And it's something I've done a lot. And I've been in challenging situations, whether it's walking through the kitchen and there's crackers there or driving by a drive-through. And I'll tell myself, I'm a healthy person. Even if I don't think I'm necessarily making progress at that point. But I know my goal is to be a healthy person. Then I'm going to be whatever a healthy person will do. That's what I'm going to do starting right now. I'm a healthy
Yeah.
person go through that drive-through? No. Would a healthy person eat that food just because it's on the counter and I'm not hungry and it's already 12 o'clock at night and I really shouldn't be eating this? Then a healthy person wouldn't eat it. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna eat it.
Yeah, that's so powerful because, as you know, the change that really sticks is our change in identity. Like when someone's trying to quit smoking, like thinking of themselves as a smoker who's trying to stop doesn't help as much as saying, I'm a non-smoker. So a non-smoker wouldn't even think about it, you
Right.
know?
And even can work the opposite also is that when people say, oh, I'm a dieter, I'm just dieting,
Right.
impacts people because they view themselves as a short-term restrictive and terrible lifestyle, and I'm going to not have any happiness in food until I get to my goal weight.
Right.
Really, it's a matter of no, I'm trying to change my mindset to be I'm a healthy person, I'm adapting to a healthy lifestyle. What would I want to be doing in 3 years from now? If I was a healthy person, how would I eat? How would I go about my daily routine? And it's not a restrictive aspect. And that's a lot of times when we yo-yo diet because we're waiting for the goal, waiting until we
Mhm.
um, go back to our old habits. It's really no. In order to become a healthy person, you have to act like a healthy person does.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that's so key is like asking those questions that you just mentioned because it's important to like really like flesh out your new identity so that it becomes natural for you, meaning like when I'm a healthy person, like what will I look like? What will I feel like? How will I go through my day? You know, what habits am I going to adopt
Right.
to really make it real and then step into that?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and that's definitely something where it's not natural necessarily, but when you can get into a routine and when you have specific triggers for yourself, that I know that when I walk into my house, I'm going to prep myself and say, I'm a healthy person. Or if I get into my car, I'm driving, and I see a drive through, you can use that self talk. I'm a healthy person, and a healthy person doesn't go through the drive through for fast food and unhealthy fast food options.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I think that's so powerful. And then, especially with emotional eating, I think a lot of times we're looking for some kind of comfort and soothing. And so I think that like it's important to do that in other ways besides food. So, like, how do you recommend that people get that comfort and soothing if they're a healthy person and not doing that through food?
Right. So absolutely, and that's how you would address the behavior component. It's like you're adjusting the environment. You're trying to adjust the trigger and the cues. You have that craving, which is very hard to challenge. Then you get into that behavior. The behavior is going to get the food, eating the food, and getting to that whatever the reward is, whether it's something that a relief from a negative emotion, from a stress, or it's an enjoyment of just having a positive emotion, like I'm eating because I love food and I love looking for something that's going to give me that enjoyment factor. So that's why what I've come across is what's called a comfort menu. It's basically a list of ideas and activities that could replace the behavior that would still give you the relief or the enjoyment that you're looking for. And it's important
Mhm.
look for non-food options because, like I know when I go out with my wife, we go on and try to go on a date night, and a lot of times the first option is okay, let's go out to eat. But there are so many other options that we can do, so many activities that we can do that will make memories, and let's say painting pottery together or going on a nice walk down the beach, whatever it is. There are things
Totally.
food related that we can do that will give us the same enjoyment and the same pleasure that would that food would give us at the same time. So in terms of a comfort menu for this, so each person I would say try to develop a comfort menu that fits you personally. Like I know if I enjoy taking a short walk, I would say like maybe step outside for 5-10 minutes, take a walk around the block, and it's something that I would enjoy, but it's something that you would despise. Like why would I go
Right.
for enjoyment?
Yeah, that's
And
boring.
then that's not gonna give you the satisfaction or the relief that you're looking for. So
Exactly.
a lot of ideas, whether it's going spending your time with your spouse or whether it could be watching TV, it could be painting your nails, giving yourself a manicure or a pedicure, and getting a massage or um, going for a walk or reading a book or journaling or whatever brings you enjoyment aside for food, trying to channel your cravings and you're trying to channel your emotional eating towards behaviors that would not just not ruin your health goals, not just go against what you're trying to accomplish, but also it would encourage it by giving you positive activities, positive mindfulness activities, whether it could be meditation and things that would really support your health goals. Not only will you not feel guilty for sabotaging yourself by eating too much or eating when you're not supposed to, you'll feel positive. Like I'm making a good change in myself. I'm making a positive health decision and a positive health progress towards my living my optimal health.
Yeah, I think that's so key. I love what you said about like taking a walk around the block might be comforting for you, but not for someone else. So I think it's really important to have that menu. I know when I work with women in terms of teaching them how to be in their feminine, like I give a whole list of like, here's activities you could do to receive pleasure in your body and get back into your feminine. But like, what's important is not that I give you a list. It's important that you make your own list, you know, so that like you have it handy, because a lot of times when we're reaching for food as comfort, it's when we're in a really depleted place, so we don't have the energy to think of what else can I do in that moment. But if you already have a list that you've written down, of like your own menu of go-to activities that'll give you comfort or soothing or pleasure, then you could just grab the list and choose something.
Right. And something that it's definitely a good option, but it definitely takes a lot of practice because a lot of people will say, "Oh, I can't. It's just too hard. Like I'm in the moment." But again, when we're trying to break habits, we also have to keep in mind we have to give ourselves some grace to the fact that, at least for me, I had by the time I actually lost weight, was probably I was 21. So I had 21 years of unhealthy habits,
Yeah.
or 20 or 19 years, whatever it is. I had many, many years of unhealthy habits. So to break that and to expect that I'm going to be able to jump right away to going from emotionally eating to going to something on my comfort menu, that's not realistic. It's not realistic that I'm going to be 100% compliant with what I'm trying to accomplish, but rather trying
Yeah.
to take it one step at a time. And if I accomplish, I instead of I emotionally eating when I have a trigger, and I'll go to something on my comfort menu, then great, and I'll celebrate that accomplishment. Not with food, obviously. But
Right.
then it's important
That you
to
could come up with
analyze.
like a celebration menu too, as
Yeah,
in addition to a
absolutely.
comfort menu.
Yeah,
Like,
like I know,
sounds like you
my
can.
wife and I made goals that we were working on, personal goals, and we said, when we get to the goals, we'll take a cruise. We'll do like a 3-night cruise. Um, Obviously, it depends on budgets, and you're not going to do a 3-night cruise for a small goal that you've
Right,
accomplished.
right, sure.
That could
You
get
can
very
massage
expensive.
each other or like whatever else you
Exactly.
like.
Or yeah, like or just have like a day date going somewhere, or a night activity going horseback, or not night, but going horseback riding, going Segway riding, bike riding. Like there's a lot of things that you can give yourself celebration. Going for a massage is a good one. Going to a spa, just enjoying that day. A lot of different things that you can give yourself. Some that would cost money, some that there's definitely positive things that you can do that are cheap or free, lots of parks or whatever. And it's definitely important to give yourself that idea of
Yeah,
have to be the only way to celebrate or way to deal with my stress.
definitely. Yeah, I think that's really empowering, to come up with a menu of what you want to celebrate and how you're going to celebrate it beforehand. Because I think that's like, that's just so exciting. And like you said, that is creating a lot of positive memories when you share that with somebody.
Right. Yeah, and it's one thing that, in a way, we're up against the wall when, in terms of when you're watching television, the amount of food commercials and
Mm-hmm.
the amount of fast food drive-throughs. Like, it's really, if you look at the world and the way that our environment is, it's really a really big challenge. Like basically, the food industries are spending billions of dollars in advertising to be able to get us to crave and food, and to be able to get us triggered and try to emotionally eat or eat stuff that we're not supposed to eat. No, we're not supposed to eat. And it's definitely a battle, but it's one that you, again, when you get into the right mindset, you get into the right mentality of like, I'm a healthy person and this is what healthy people do, then that's when you can circumvent all that and really accomplish and see results that you're looking for.
Definitely. Yeah. And I know that you shared that accountability was really helpful for you. So I think that that's probably an additional um, component that, you as a coach can offer people. Because I think that, when you're just trying to create this for yourself and you don't have a lot of support in your immediate family, or your immediate family is kind of doubtful, like what kind of support can people get from a group or an accountability or working with someone like you?
Exactly, right. And a lot of times when we have family members that sabotage us, it could be stemming from a lot of different reasons. It could be they're just self-conscious about the way they look, or it could be that um, they feel like, I've had coworkers tell me, like coworkers that were very petite. This lady probably weighed 100 pounds. She was telling me, "Oh, you lost enough weight. You don't have to lose any more." And I'm thinking, like, this is my personal health goal. I have a goal to
Yeah.
be able to be in my optimal health. Um, just because you think I've reached a threshold which is good for me, doesn't mean that it's necessarily something that I agree to. And it's something that
Yeah.
people can sabotage us whether they think it or not. And they'll tell us like, "Oh, you don't need to lose any more weight, or you don't need to work out every day. You can work out every other day." But when you have a goal and you know what's good for you and you have self-care, then you can accomplish so much more. You have so much more energy. Then it doesn't make a difference what other people feel about your goals, as long as, obviously, unless you're doing it in a excessive way and it's detrimental for your health. But in terms of knowing what a healthy balance is and reaching goals, um, yeah, unfortunately, people will try to sabotage you, whether they try to intentionally or not. But it's something we
Definitely.
find that we know that we can accomplish things whether we have distractions or not. So you can do it.
Yeah, definitely. And so in terms of like how people can get support through working with you, like how do you usually support people in their journey if they're looking for more support?
Right. So I would say there's a lot of different ways to get support. Having a coach is definitely a good one. I would say also trying to keep in mind if there's any family members or friends that you, or neighbors or coworkers that you could have as an accountability partner. Someone that you just tell them, look, this is my goal. Um, Tell them where you are currently, what you're trying to accomplish, and can you help me? Can you be there as a resource for me? That's definitely something where that I've used myself with my wife or with other family members, and I've told them, I really I'm really trying to be good. Please try to keep that in mind. A, not to tempt me by different things, and B, to help support me and celebrate my progress. In terms
Definitely.
Yeah, in terms of coaching, it's actually because I worked with a health coach myself, someone that I use to encourage me weekly for support, gave me tips and ideas, and was there whenever I needed her. She was really a pleasure to work with. So I realized that, and when I was speaking to her, and she said, you'd be a great coach also, because you have a story that you can relate to people. Like if you go to, I've been to the doctor sometimes, and I had an obese doctor, and he's telling me you gotta lose weight,
Right.
and like, you can't give me that advice if you don't follow it yourself. And if someone that's been through the journey, it's been through the struggle, and again, everyone has um, different specific challenges, whether if they're looking for optimal health. And true, I might not be able to relate to every single little challenge here and there, but I know the daily in and out, being consistent, trying to work on challenging situations and being a soundboard for other people and giving them encouragement. That's definitely something that I've done with multiple clients and really seen tremendous results with that. So I definitely, if you want to reach me, you can reach me at Avi the MFT. So that's AVITHEMFT at gmail.com. Or just feel free to give me a call on my cell at 347-531-6057.
Yes, and I will put that in the show notes so that if you are watching this on YouTube, I'll put it in the comments or the description. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or another podcast platform, it'll be in the show notes, or you can go to the show notes directly on my website, which is coachvaleriegreen.com/podcast/Avi, AVI. So I'll put all of that, underneath either the video or in the show notes of what you're watching or listening to. Because I think it's, obviously I'm a bit biased because I'm a coach, but I think it's always important to have somebody there, exactly like what you're saying. If it's you doing it on your own, which I think is also great, to enroll your family or a good friend to support you so that, you can be healthy. And, sometimes it helps to have, because I know you also have a structured plan that you share with people, that can really help them. So to get that outside support and
Right.
suggestions from someone who's more knowledgeable than you can be really helpful.
Right. And then just to end off, just again, something that I've learned so many times, and it's really about when you're looking to make health goals, you're looking to get healthy, and you try to take on everything at once. A lot of times we just overwhelm ourselves and say, I'm going to be perfect, and try to accomplish the world in for the next month. And a lot of times we burn ourselves out or overwhelm ourselves. So it's really a matter of taking it, trying to find out what your reality is, what your current reality is. Where am I? What's realistic for me to expect? Like I know when I first lost weight. Someone told me give up diet soda. I'm like, I'm not ready for that yet. I'll get there. And I know it's something that's important, but I really have to work within what I'm comfortable with now,
Mhm.
myself, but with still within a relatively comfort zone, but really trying to build healthy habits one at a time and try to find different areas where we can make small steps on a daily basis towards progress.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think that's really sound advice is to be patient with yourself. Take slow steps, like slow and steady is much more important than going really fast and then getting overwhelmed and giving up.
Right.
So I think that happens with every change. And I know those other things we talked about addressing, like drinking water and eating frequent meals and getting enough sleep, like those are all really important parts of the protocol that you teach. So I want to encourage people to reach out to you, to hear more about the programs that you offer.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
So it's really been a pleasure to talk to you. And I really feel inspired by the journey that you've been on, because it shows that no matter what, people who want to have a change just need the right components in place to make the change sustainable, to really change the identity of, becoming who you want to be. And that is totally possible. If it
Right.
can happen for us, it can happen for anyone.
Absolutely. If you had asked me 10 years ago when I was 270 pounds, like you have become a health coach, I would have laughed you out of the room. There's no way I could ever be healthy, or even help other people get healthy. I think there's no way. But
Yeah,
definitely, if I could,
totally.
there's definitely potential for you. That's for sure.
Definitely. So thank you for being on the show. And I look forward
Sure.
to,
Pleasure.
I encourage people that if you have a question for Avi, reach out to him. And also, if you just have a question for either him or me, also, if you're watching this on YouTube, post it in the comments and we'll get back to you, or post it in the comments on my webpage and the show notes, and we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I love connecting. I love connecting with you, and I love connecting with our audience as well, to really help them on their own journey towards health and soul shaking love, which I define as mind, body, spirit alignment, so that you're really feeling like you're completely, connected to all parts of yourself and then to the other people in your lives. And, being a healthy person is an important part of that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Sure.
Yay.